All eyes on the way I vibe when I walk into the room. Wind blows underneath the soles of my brand new pair of shoes. I got the attention, I'm on a mission. No sweat in the way I step, I got a fresh new attitude. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. Call me a king, you can buy me a crown. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. I'm leveled up, and this is my world now. This is my world now. So anyone who tried to write me off, tell them they can go and write this down. This is my world now. New look, got the ladies shook. New watch saying it's my time. These magazines wanna feature me, cause they know I'm on the rise. Get the attention, I'm on a mission. Cause ever since I flipped that switch, my power can't be denied. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. Call me a king, you can buy me a crown. Oh my, 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 oh my, my, my. I'm leveled up, and this is my world now. This is my world now. So anyone who tried to write me off, tell them they can go and write this down. This is my world now. Get the attention, I'm on a mission. Man with a vision. Got a passion, making it happen. Ready for action. And this is my world now. This is my world now. So anyone who tried to write me off, tell them they can go and write this down. This is my world now. So anyone who tried to write me off, tell them they can go and write this down. This is my world now. And this is my world now. And this is my world now. And this is my world now. This is my world now. Hey! Here we go! We coming ready or not, you better steady yourself, because we're raising some hell. There's nothing keeping this roof from blowing on. We're taking over the town, hit the switch and shut it down. Like India, we're electric, never stop. We coming ready or not, we coming ready or not. We're giving all that we got, we're giving all that we got. We're coming ready or not. We're throwing gas on the fire, the strategy
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Our family started RVing a few years ago, and when I think about all those campfires and fishing trips and sporting events, these are memories that are going to last a lifetime. I want to help others do the same thing. Hi, I'm Kevin Smith, General Manager at the all-new Click It RV in Milton Freewater. People in this community are very familiar with this location and the great service they've always received. So the biggest question we get is, where is Keith? The great news is, Keith is still here.
I've seen a lot of changes. I've seen a lot of things come and go. Through all the changes that we have seen, one thing that has not changed for us is the quality of our service.
Buying an RV is a big purchase, but it should be a fun and happy experience. So whether it be in sales or service or parts, our mission is simple: be the best. From our team here at Click It RV in Milton Freewater, we invite you to come down and experience the difference.
I did disappear at some point in time. You don't see me. I'm the black screen to the very right. I'm Terry Radford. Jason in the always beautiful carrot top pair with the Martin Sports jersey on right there in the middle. Driver of the number 54 Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota Camry. There, I made it. Yay, I'm here. The driver of the Interstate Matters number 54 driving over there in the Coke Series. You didn't have the race you wanted at Michigan, Dan, but somebody tonight's going to have a good race.
I certainly hope everyone racing tonight, they better have a better result than I did the other night. I mean, I was running so good on Tuesday, and then our normal, typical Coke Series experience happened. But I wouldn't be surprised we'll see the same tonight. Going to be similar to what we saw on Tuesday night with the Coke race here in Road to Pro Racing. A lot of pack racing, a lot of side-by-side racing. Is it going to get strung out on the long run? We'll have to wait and see, but I'm definitely ready. Definitely probably the biggest, one of the biggest wild cards of round two.
Well, and Jason, we talked about points coming into this race, and the end of last race, we really hit this one and try to hone this one in. You go all the way back to 70th with Kyle Peddle. He's 53 points outside of getting into the final 20 to make it to contender here. And just, it feels like it's tomorrow, but it's in like a month and some change. We've got 5 points up to Caden Rush to 12th, all the way down to Spencer Kostowicz in 30th. It's anybody's ball game who's going to walk out of Michigan tonight inside the top 20.
Yeah, not really too sure. Obviously, I'm looking at Seth DeMerchant, James Wenzel, who are outside the top 20 right now. Obviously, they're tied for right outside the bubble currently. Just 1 point back from my stat book right now to Max Brady. Then you have Michael Venable, Cody Harris right in front of Max. Also, other guys, too, Jackson Crowder, Blaze Crawford. Those guys have been consistent. Blaze is coming off a top 10 run from last week at IRP. We saw Jackson win in round one, I believe it was about 2 times, if not definitely one I remember at Dover, which we all called with Brad Perez back at Dover. So those are 2 guys I'm looking for, to maybe do something tonight down at 31st and 20th and 29th position in the point standings. But this is a race where it's going to act like a mini Daytona Talladega type race, man. Dan talked about it. There's going to be drafting. There's going to be, just really, really hectic battles. Restarts are going to be crazy, and the unpredictable level is pretty high.
Yeah, it really will be. And the guy that I would look out for is the driver that's sitting 23rd. That's James Holzer. Was very fast there from Team EPI. That would be a driver, whether he's in split 1 or split 2, to keep an eye on. We'll take a look right here live at the racetrack at the drivers getting ready to take pole qualifying time. We'll see who comes across the board that is able to set a fast time, because track position here, Dan, is really going to be key.
Absolutely. We may think this is a big, wide racetrack. There, you got multiple lanes. You got 3, 4, 5 different lanes of racing you can use. But still, being up at the front when it matters most is going to be key, because this race, it's only 70 laps, same amount of laps as the Coke race the other night too. So not a lot of time to get to the front, and most likely going to be a one-stop strategy. It's going to be really close on fuel for a lot of these guys. These guys can make it to about halfway on gas. So it's going to be all about when you pit and who you're going to pit with, because definitely pitting with people trying to stay in that draft is going to be very important as well, and we'll see. And also, we might avoid some big wrecks tonight as well. So a lot of storylines going into tonight.
A ton of storylines to follow. You see Matthew Bear right here currently sitting 30th on the timing sheet. We'll see how that's going to affect him if he's able to drive through the field, or if lap number 2 could be the best spot for him. A lot of people on here. It's about a 9/100th of a second. I mean, we get back to a 10th with Brandon Hanna that's sitting 19th right now. Matthew Bear is going to come across 29th. He did not pick up a ton, and qualifying's over. Just like that, we are getting ready to start this round 12, round 3 of round 2 technically. So a ton of storylines to follow as Logan Helton will win the pole this afternoon for the 70 laps here around the Michigan International Speedway. There's your starting lineup at the bottom, and man, I'm telling you, I like these graphics. Logan Helton, Jonathan Delaney, your front row. Back there in row number 2, you're going to find Taylor Hurst and Blaze Crawford. Row 3, Christopher Pfeffer and Matthew Swack. Row 4, Seth DeMerchant and Daniel Smallwood to the outside. And rounding out the 10 drivers up here, you got Caden Rowe and Dominic Lukowski. Yeah, I think I said that right, Jason.
And then you got row 6, you have Dalton Collins in the 13 machine, James Wenzel, who's been fast recently in that 14. Row number 7, Ray Alfalo, one of the legendary drivers in this field, and Kenny Humpy there in the number 5 machine. Row number 8 has Hunter Johnson and Michael Venable in the 20 machine. Row number 9, you have Mitchell Hunt in the 17 and Hunter Geohagen there in the 24. And then rounding out your top 20 tonight, Dan, you got Brandon Hanna and Noah Bitts in the number 9.
Looking down to row number 11 here, starting at 21st, we got Luke Knupp, and starting 22nd, Michael P. Frisch. Those guys have a lot of work to do tonight, not a lot of time. Tommy Gossett and Blake Neer rounding out row number 12. And then we got Brendan T. Meal and Brandon Pipgrass here in row number 13. Then you got Charles Grant Jr. and Jesse Kaplan rolling off of row 14. And then rounding out the top 30, we got Matthew Bear and Cole Hooper. And then rounding out the rest of the field, Jake Nichols bringing up the rear to complete our field of 31 drivers taking part in tonight's split here, Terry.
Yeah, 31 drivers going to get ready to go. And I'm a big fan of Logan Helton's back tailgate there with the Roasted Gems coffee. Always a fan of some good coffee ideas. But as we roll, a lot of the drivers who are going to be in this field are inside the top 20 at the moment. You have some that have fallen out of that cut line, and they're going to need to have a big race here. Jason, I'll come to you first and ask, what is your one key to win this race here at Michigan?
I think just avoid chaos, Terry. I mean, we've seen this race. Anytime you're on the service here on iRacing racing, these trucks on an open setup, it gets very chaotic. Drafting is super, super key. You have to have a good handling race truck, yes, but at the end of the day, just survive the carnage, man. This is just going to be a smaller version of Daytona and Talladega today, basically. You could see some separate packs possibly, but definitely avoid the chaos tonight for sure.
Yeah, Jason, or Dan, I'll come to you and actually ask the same thing. Do we see an opportunity for one of these drivers to short pit and make this opportunity up?
I'll be very interested to see as we see our weather here on our screen. Very hot day out, 84 degrees, and the very high winds hit the southwest here today in the Irish Hills of Michigan. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how the pit strategy is going to work out. But with the current, with the fuel tank and the fuel window that these guys have, I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of these guys be pitting together as the pace car is coming onto pit road here.
Pace car comes down and in. We'll see if any of these drivers can figure it out here as we're going to get ready to go racing for 70 laps here in the Irish Hills of Michigan. 3 wide already on the start.
Those are 3 wide on the start already, down into turn 1. You see the leaders side by side right there. 63, nice little jump from Logan Helton in the number 11 machine. He'll jump out to kind of about a car length lead over that 6 machine to the top side, clearing him now off turn 2 while the pack fans out behind.
Just remain 2 by 2 by 2 as they work their way down the back straightaway. Logan Helton in front of Taylor Hurst. We've seen how fast Taylor Hurst has been all season long here in the Road to Pro iRacing Series. You got Jonathan Delaney and Blaze Crawford trying to bring that outside lane around with them as they come to complete lap number 1.
Starting to look like Daytona here as they come to complete lap number 1 of 70.
Oh,
big back front straightaway, and that is the big one at Michigan. And it looks that the damage on some of these trucks were not good. I see Frisch was in this, Dalton Collins, Michael Venable have fallen down here. Hunter Johnson potentially was in this one. There is a lot of big names that have fallen down the leaderboard, and we'll take a look at the replay here, Jason. It got ugly, and it got ugly fast.
See back there, the 95 machine just kind of comes up the racetrack a little bit. Ultimately gets clipped right in the right rear quarter panel off turn number 4. Overcorrects, it comes down in front of the field. And then, you know, Dan, as they say, the rest is history.
Now, I knew we were going to expect some chaos. I did not expect it on the first lap, let me tell you. That's a lot of trucks taken out already. That was a good amount of them, but we'll see how badly damaged they are. See if they can get as much damage fixed as possible. But, man, if you were in probably the back half of the field there, you were definitely probably got in that wreck there. But hopefully, so a lot of those guys got skated away, and hopefully that wasn't a lot of race enders right there. But, yeah, if that's what happens on lap 1, I'm curious to see what the rest of this race is going to bring us.
You see the drivers who are on pit road on the right-hand side of the screen, the 5, the 2, the 24, and the list keeps growing of drivers who are going to come down the pit lane and attempt to fix any type of damage that they potentially will have here, because I mean that was a massive wreck, Jason, and I mean I'm no mathematician. That looks to be like 10 plus drivers have come down the pit lane, and Alfala, Kenny Humpy, O. Johnson, Mitchell Hunt, Frisch, Himmel, Bear, Kaplan, just to name a few of them. And Brandon Pipgrass is in that row as well, that has kind of fallen back, not having the early start that he wanted. But lap 1 chaos, man, I feel like we're at a super speedway.
And we talked about it too, you know, and Dan said it as well, you know, not this early possibly, but sure enough, lap 1 coming across to take lap 2, we see our first yellow of the night. And that's the thing, Terry, you're just going to have to survive tonight because you never know when a caution might come out. The unpredictability level is the highest it can be right now. And if your drivers like Ray Alfala, who is comfortably inside the top 20 for the time being, you did not want to see that happen to yourself, because he was currently sitting right now as the points stood coming into tonight. He was 10th on the board. So you never know. A poor finish tonight could definitely ruin your chances at making contender.
Well, and Dan, I want to bring this up because you were a part of the chaos that ensued on the Tuesday night show for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And a big point of emphasis that a lot of people said on Twitter was, we can't race each other like this. Respect versus reward. How much respect do these drivers give each other, especially on lap number 1 of a race that's already going to be chaotic?
Well, I mean, it's really hard to come by because sadly, at the end of the day, when we're racing for six figures in money, I mean, you're gonna get stuff like this because everyone's gonna fight for every single position. And with how close the competition is these days, probably the closest it's ever been in eNASCAR. It's just so hard to just sit in line and just do whatever because you need to get those positions as quick as possible, and which is how shorter our races have been over the last few years. It's just that factor is going to come in, and it's only in the driver's hands to control that. And we've seen over the last few weeks, a lot of people, even a lot of the Coke Series drivers themselves, have voiced their opinion, myself included a little bit. But at the end of the day, this is the box we're in, and this is how we choose to drive. And unfortunately, it don't look like it's going to change unless the drivers take it in their own hands. But right now, looking at what just happened here on the first lap, I seem to have carried over in the Road to Pro stuff here too. But hopefully, and I wouldn't be surprised that won't be the last time that's going to happen as well.
We'll reset your top five. It's Logan Helton, Jonathan Delaney, Taylor Hurst, Blaze Crawford, and Christopher Pfeffer is your top five. And as I say that, he gives me the lower third. That tells me the top five. So good on the producer. Taking good notes here as the pace car is going to come down and in here for the second time early on in this race. Caution flag came out on lap 1 coming to 2. Logan Helton gets to the restart zone. Green flags back in the air, and he gets a massive jump as they come across the start-finish line, Jason.
And Logan does get, in fact, a very, very good start. You see Blaze Crawford right back there. You see Seth DeMerchant now as we look to him. Caden Rush, all these drivers scrambling for position here down in turn 1. Everybody kind of files out down to the bottom, but you're going to see a lot more three-wide action once you head down this back straightaway, Dan.
Yeah, definitely a little bit more spread out near the front because Logan was able to launch whenever he wanted in the restart zone compared to going on the initial green. So it looks a little bit more calmer here around the top 10, top 15, but then it's like 2 or 3 wide racing near the back half of the field as they're coming to complete lap number 5. Let's see if we get to the start-finish line this time.
We'll see if we can complete one green flag lap, and well, the leaders have crossed the line. The rest of the field crosses now. So the very first green flag lap of the eNASCAR Road to Pro qualifying iRacing series is underway, and Logan Helton still holds the lead. Crawford's to the outside. You see Jonathan Delaney as well going to try to take the lead, and this will be what we would see throughout this entire race. Is good pack racing all race long. And Jonathan will get a good run here off of turns 3 and 4. Wide open around here, Jason. It's going to be a heck of a fight as he takes it, and he takes it big this time.
You're seeing the wide openness of this racetrack right now and just how tight it is up at the front of the field. Talked about earlier, possibility of separate packs. You're already seeing that first pack currently start to kind of fade away right now from the back of the field. Like I said earlier, too, typical Daytona Talladega type racing. You see Blaze Crawford right behind the 12 of Jonathan Delaney, currently pushing him all the way down the back straightaway. That's a 74, I believe, of Taylor Hurst. Currently, this is a 10, Logan Helton. Everybody, Dan, just trying to kind of find their wiggle room here early on in this race.
Yep, and we're noticing it's starting to see everyone move up to like the middle to the higher lanes, and with how much momentum you got to carry in these trucks, not a lot of horsepower, you definitely want to try to run those higher lanes because the banking on this track is so different. Like on that very bottom is very little banking compared with the progressive banking on this track. Everyone decided to run that middle. Some guys are trying to choose to run the bottom, but you definitely want to be up near the middle as really close there between Logan Helton and Seth DeMerchant for the 5th place position. But yeah, you see everyone trying to migrate up to the middle, trying not to get trapped in that bottom, or else if you get trapped in that bottom for a long period of time, you're going to go backwards. As I say, that's Seth DeMerchant. He's going for position on Matthews White.
I'll give you an update on the drivers who were involved in the lap 1 incident. No one has retired from the race as yet. You go all the way back to the 31st position is where you're going to find Johnson. He is 3.5 seconds off of our race leader. He's about a second or so off of Venable, who's currently running in the 30th position. So definitely some damage. You can tell it on the back end when you see the camera shot when they're exiting the corner. So to reset it here, all of your drivers in the top 4 have single filed their way out. To Dan's point, they have migrated to the middle. You got to look all the way up there to DeMerchant before you start to see a driver go to look for a position to make a pass on the bottom of this pack. It's 2 by 2 throughout this field, about now second on back, because Seth DeMerchant has made a ton of ground up from back there in the VRS machine.
Seth is just trying to run down on the bottom right now. Currently, that outside lane, though, Terry, just looks to be a lot stronger off the corners, but through the center, you see Seth kind of pull that line on the bottom down just a little bit further ahead, but on these straightaways, that outside, Dan, just seems to be hanging on tough.
Yeah, but look at Seth Merchant. He's got the clean air, and he's got a really good handling truck, and now he's got a little bit of help behind him with Chris Pfeffer, and that looks to be, as I try to point this out, I think that's Daniel Smallwood behind him as well. And now they're even pulled up even with the race leaders as they're coming to complete lap number 10.
3 wide right here for the 13th position. Caden Rush was to the outside. We'll see if this one plays well. The first time we saw 3 wide early on in the race, we saw a massive pileup at the start-finish line all throughout the grass. Took roughly 10 drivers with it, but nobody retired yet. Here they go, single file to the outside, double file to the bottom. All the drivers trying to get as many positions as possible. And here comes Rush again. He's going to look to the outside, 3 wide off of 4, Jason.
Getting right up in the marbles right there. You don't want to be too far out. Now you're seeing some 3 wide action right there between Caden and Rush. Also, Brandon Hanna, James Wenzel is in there as well. Still 3 wide as they head down into 1. Somebody's got to give, and we'll see how they kind of sort their way out here, Dan, out of turn number 2.
Continue to see this 3 wide in the middle of the pack. I was talking with Caden Rush a bit last night about how his chances were going to be in this race, and he didn't feel that confident.
Trouble in the back straightaway.
Hey, trouble in the back. 1 car goes around, and a couple more involved. We're going to have to get a replay on that one, but I just saw the 14 truck get turned head on to the outside wall, and that collected a few of them, Terry.
It all started with James Wenzel right there in the number 14. He went around, and that is going to bring caution. Flag number 2 out. Lap number 12. You see Michael Venable right there. There's James Wenzel. All of these drivers. We'll take a look at the replay. And here we go with Wenzel. And let's see here. He's on the bottom and not clear driver around. He goes, and the field goes with him. Oh, wrong driver. Who's in the 14?
That is Blake Neer. That got turned into the outside wall.
Yeah, these damn numbers.
Yeah, they want to mess with us a little bit, but yeah, if we can try to go back and get another replay now that we know we got the right guys, it's still hard to pick out some of these guys sometimes. But yeah, going into turn number 1 here, trying to get another alternate angle myself here. But yeah, just on the bottom turns 1 and 2, and it looked like whoever's in the 30 truck coming up the middle, and then Blake Neer, I think, just it looks like he tried to get up in line, just quite just not clear. And that took out a few more for them. I think they collected a few more who were in the first wreck as well. So not a good start for a lot of these guys. And Blake Neer, you see that engine is blown as well. So it looks like it's going to be early into the night here in Michigan for Blake Neer.
Yeah, something too. I mean, like, just because of that wreck, look at the amount of drivers, Terry, that we've had taken out so far. As Taylor Hurst pulls a move, he stays out this time. And I believe he might have been one of the only drivers to stay out. But due to these 2 early cautions, lots of players, lots of guys who are looking to have stellar nights tonight, Terry, unfortunately, their night has come to an end.
Will potentially reset this. I don't want to say chaos yet, but I do want to heavily emphasize the word yet. Because we're 14 laps in, this is the 2nd caution, and we have seen a multitude of drivers. Big words for me here tonight that have been involved in accidents. The race off of pit road was as expected. They came in the way that they came out. So all of these drivers, Jonathan Delaney will be 3rd because Taylor Hurst and Jesse Kaplan all stayed out. And I believe that would put Delaney into 3rd, Logan Helton 4th. So we'll reset it once they come across the start-finish line here. And get it all situated. Hunter G. Hogan, he looks like he's out of the race. He's in 30th, and I believe 31st is out as well. I'll get confirmation on that one, but 2 drivers so far are out of this race due to an incident. And this is getting crazy.
Yeah, it's so early on too. You have to be patient. You saw the 14 machine right there. Or of Blake Neal, he just came right up the racetrack, because if he wasn't going to get up there, he was going to just kind of fall to the back. We've seen it time and time again here, with these plate type racetracks, obviously with Michigan here too, with these open sets. you're just going to drop like a rock if you're not in the draft, especially in the middle of the pack. And unfortunately, just tried to get up right there, end of his day probably for sure. And just a lot of drivers early on here, Dan.
Yeah, definitely a lot of chaos in the first 15 laps, but I'm really interested to see the strategy of these top two that have stayed out. Now, we know tire wear is still going to be in effect as there's a pretty good amount of fall off here, the more amount of laps we run around here, because we're going so fast, high-low in the tires. But who knows how strong is going to be, or how strong the drive is going to be, getting my word mixed up there. We'll see what Taylor Hurst and the 31 truck, we'll see if they're going to be able to hang on here, because they might be falling back a little bit early, but if they can hang on that draft, who knows? They got an extra set of tires waiting in the pits if it were to come down to that.
Yeah, a lot of drivers potentially thinking strategy moves here, and for Taylor Hurst and Jesse Kaplan, you're right. This could be a great play for them to have that extra set of tires if we continue on the trend that we're on, where the caution flag would wave as many times as it has had so far. We're on caution number 2. The first 2 drivers have not pitted. The rest of the drivers from third on back have come down the pit lane at least once. Don't know if they've taken tires potentially. It looks like they would have with 14.1 for Seth the Merchant being the fastest time on the pit lane. Jesse Kaplan pitted for fuel only on the first caution flag of the night, so he's good on fuel on the same strategy. Green flags back in the air. That would be Taylor Hurst getting it done, and they're all leaving the outside lane, Jason. They don't want to push him.
Just like the last restart here, Terry, that bottom lane just kind of got lined up a lot better. You see Taylor Hurst, Jonathan Delaney there. Here comes Seth DeMerchant looking to make something happen. One of those guys just barely outside the top 20, looking to have a stellar night tonight as well. He'll jump up here, Dan, to the outside, right in the middle lane. Here comes the 18 as well to the top side. 3 wide for position down to 3.
Yeah, Matthew Swag ain't going to hang around now. He will go try to rally that outside lane. And see the 31. He's falling quite a bit back here on those other tires. Taylor Hurst hanging on as Seth the Merchant's going to look up the middle. We're going to be 3 wide across the stripe.
3 wide across the stripe. Taylor Hurst to the outside. You got Seth the Merchant in the middle. You got Jonathan Delaney on the bottom. We'll go 3 by 3 for the first 2 rows. Now let's do 2 by 3 by 3 by 3 all the way back. Super speedway style racing off of turn 2 down the back straightaway. Now it's a drag race between who I would potentially say would be the fastest 2 drivers here this afternoon in Seth the Merchant and Jonathan Delaney as they go with their drafting partners all in a conga line down into turn number 3 and 4.
Everybody's just trying to find their drafting partner right now. You see some guys still kind of wiggling around right now throughout the pack off turn 4, trying to figure out where they want to be. You saw Caden Rush, Luke Knupp. Also, I believe that's Logan Helton, too. They're 3 wide down into turn number 1, trying to get settled back to 2 wide. Meanwhile, Seth the Merchant off turn number 2 hangs tough up on the outside with Noah Bitts pushing him as well.
Seth the Merchant, we always know how good he is on these kind of style racetracks where it's a super speedway-esque like pack racing. We know how good he is at this. Remember, he won Atlanta back in round 1 to start back earlier in March. Went in the top split, finished 2nd at Daytona earlier in round 1 as well. So he's got a thing. He knows how to position himself well, especially at the end of these races too. So keep an eye out for Seth the Merchant here at the end of this race. As Noah Bitts, he's going to look for the lead going into turn number 1.
Going for the race lead up here in the front. Bitts look down to the bottom on Seth DeMerchant. You got the 4 machine. That's Blaze Crawford to the backside of that number 1 Chevrolet. And no help on the bottom. There's nothing for him to do for Bitts. He's just going to have to fall back in line and hope that the side draft works, Jason. And these trucks, they don't necessarily like being pushed too hard in the corner.
Sure, especially since if you do try to push the back end of these trucks, you will lift those rear tires off the ground. So you have to be extremely careful pushing somebody, especially if you're the leader. But here comes Blaze Crawford. He'll duck out of line on the outside down into turn number 1 from Seth the Merchant. He's got help from Matthew Swack now as they work their way down the back straightaway here in the Irish Hills of Michigan.
Blaze Crawford and Matthew Swack working together out of the Motorsports Racing stable. Teammates going to the lead. Blaze Crawford, he's going to clear for the lead in front of Seth the Merchant. He's going to stay with Matthew Swack. Swack going to stay behind him, try to get the draft, try to get the run off the corner. And they're going to pull Chris Pfeffer with him too. Oh, he's trying to look up the middle. Swack cuts him off. Blaze Crawford's going to lead this lap.
Blaze Crawford gets the lead from the outside. He jumped up there on Seth DeMerchant, gets the race lead. Now he's going to fall back with Noah Bitts down there on the bottom lane. Seth made it work. He was but the only driver who made that inside lane work with very minimal help. But now the middle lane, to Dan's point a little early on, everybody migrating to that line. Running Michigan a few weeks ago, Jason, a lot of these Road to Pro drivers were in there, and I got a chance to pick their brains in the one of 3 times I made it to Top Split that week of why do you run the middle line? And their biggest key was, well, nobody can pass you on the bottom if you do. So big help from them to teach me how to run around here in the Irish Hills. But hey, we're 2 by 2 and now 3 wide further on back for 10th.
He got a little loose there, Terry, entering turn number 1, but he was able to catch it. Matthew Zwack getting some help from Jonathan Delaney behind them, but the 6 of Christopher Pfeffer hanging tough currently, Dan, right now running on the bottom, trying to chase down Blaze Crawford again.
Got that clean air. They see his truck seems to be handling really well in that very bottom lane. There is some pretty good grip down in that very bottom lane. If your truck handles well, you're able to carry the speed on the bottom. You could maybe make it past to the lead, but he's going to need a little help from Seth the Merchant if he's going to make that work, as Blaze Crawford, Matthew Zwack, trying to keep control of this race as they remain 1-2 in Pfeffer. He's going to have another look down to the inside, but here comes Jonathan Delaney on the outside, going to try to push that outside lane and give it more momentum.
The momentum on the outside looking to be strong here for the time being. Christopher Pfeffer, he jumps to the inside. He's going to take a look to the inside here of Jonathan Delaney. Now he's going to go up here and try to get Matthew Swack running a little bit of a traditionalist line here around Michigan where, Jason, I'm either getting old or blind. I'm almost positive I saw him take his driver's side tire below the yellow line right there in turns 3 and 4.
You can kind of do it right there. I mean, I don't have nearly as much time as Dan, I know for sure, on the sim, but you can kind of get right there just a little bit. But I think any further down, you're really risking it with getting loose, obviously. And a big point, too, getting to turns 1 and 2, you can't do that like you can with turns 3 and 4 for some reason. Never really knew why. But I guess maybe just the way it's arced possibly, but you could see some guys do that possibly, especially on fresher tires here tonight for sure.
So far, so good for Blaze Crawford. Matthew Zwack out of the NFR stable, just trying to control this pack. And they're side-by-side for 3rd and side-by-side for 5th. And then it seems to be nice and calm for the time being. I'd say we got about 20 trucks in this lead pack, and then everyone else spread out. And there's a lot of those guys like Taylor Hurst who try to stay out there near the back, or pretty much at the back of the field. So that strategy didn't quite work out for them. But yeah, back up to the front, Jonathan Delaney trying to clear for 3rd place on Chris Pfeffer, and I think he's going to get the push off turn number 4. He should be able to clear him, but Pfeffer coming back hard right on the bottom.
26th and 27th for your 2 drivers who stayed on the racing surface when that caution flag waved at lap 12. Everybody else riding up front. Crawford, Swack, Delaney trying to clear themselves in the top 3, but a little contact was almost made there going into the corner. Pfeffer got right on the door, trying to get as much of the side draft as possible. You'll see him drag race down the back straightaway. Dan, I'll ask you this question. Bump drafting here in the trucks, I know they don't go to Daytona next week. They go to the Milwaukee Mile. For the C and the C fix, the open and fix, I meant to say, but everybody else is going to go to Daytona for A and B. If you're on a super speedway type racetrack and you go to Luck Bumpers in one of these Camping World or the Craftsman Truck Series trucks, man, that's an adjustment. How hard is it to push, and really how focused do you have to be to make sure you hit them square?
Well, it's actually interesting that you bring that up because I've talked about over the last few races that the trucks now have the new damage model implemented in the last build we had about a month or 2 ago. Which it actually makes it easier to push someone. It was very, very hard, or you had to be very nimble on how you push in the trucks before the previous build. But with the latest new damage model that's now on the current Craftsman trucks, it's actually a lot easier to push and bump somebody. Like, in before, especially on the plate tracks, you might get someone a little loose if you get too aggressive with the bumping. But now you can just lay into them, and they really won't budge at all. So that actually has been a little bit easier over in the Craftsman truck side.
It'll be fun to see how the other cars, the NASCAR Xfinity Series and the Cup Series cars do at Daytona. And for a lot of these drivers, they're going to have to get used to what the Xfinity Series car will handle. For 20 of these drivers, they will head to the eNASCAR Contender Series that will go live on eNASCAR.live, twitch.tv/iRacing, and any other place that you find your eNASCAR needs. And for the other 20 drivers from 21st on back, well, they're going to find themselves potentially back here in the eNASCAR qualifying iRacing series next season to make another bid for the road to $300,000. You take a look at Logan Helton right here. Your pole sitter has fallen back to the 11th place position. He's trailing Michael P. Frisch, who's currently sitting 10th. Jason, it's getting a little bit hard to pass here as everybody seems to single file out up there on that outside lane. Only 2 drivers have really tried to make that bottom work here in the latter part of this run.
Just barely in front of Kenny Humpy right there, off turn number 4, kind of bottlenecks the field just a tiny bit there. But the reason for that being, obviously, you know, and Dan mentioned it, you know, you kind of just want to be up on the top side too, you know, later on in the run. I know, obviously, whoa, one driver way out of line there, 4 wide for a minute. That's the 6 of Noah Bitts. He'll get a 3-for-1 special off too. But these guys, they want to run that middle lane, you know, Terry, like you said, you know, just you can't pass on the bottom unless you have some sort of help, fresher tires and whatnot. That's why you're seeing a lot of these guys kind of just migrate to that middle lane. And whenever somebody tries to duck out of it and go down to the bottom, make a pass, it's just so dang hard to do it.
And now we're seeing everyone starting to get a little single file. This is probably where we had a lot of the pack racing be ending on when the tires were fresh, they were new. And now we've gotten a pretty good green flag run now where tires are starting to matter, handlings are starting to matter a lot. And now you're starting to see, like, can anyone start to try to make some moves, as we're seeing Chris Pfeffer trying to make a move here on the around the outside, I think trying to get into the top 5 here. And Pfeffer's going to clear that position, I believe. That was on Brandon Hanna. And move Chris Pfeffer up to P6. Now he's trying to go for more on that outside. Pfeffer got a good handling truck on that outside, trying to make some more positions that they're more side by side with Daniel Smallwood and Jonathan Delaney.
See him right there. He's trying to make the run on Caden Rush. He's moved his way into the top 5 for the first time here this afternoon. Now trying to make it to the 4th place position as Daniel Smallwood is going to be trapped in there on the bottom in the number 16. Not a whole lot of drivers wanting to run the bottom, but a few have tended to make it work here. But Pfeffer going to what has essentially been Neverland for a lot of these drivers. They don't want to go to the 3rd lane. It's not been properly cleaned off. But, Jason, I kind of want to bring a point up. For the first time in this race in 32 laps, there's a little bit of cloud cover here this afternoon, so the track's definitely starting to go through some changes.
For sure, obviously being more grip out there now with that little bit of cloud cover. And obviously, the more sunlight, the hotter the track is, the slicker it is. And you really don't want to feel really hot and slick going down into these corners. So you see all the rubber up at the top of the racetrack. That's perfectly fine. But, you know, with all this amount of grip that they have out there right now, being in this draft, and plus the cloud cover, tire wear, yeah, it means something. But it's not going to mean nearly as much when the track is just completely, you know, engulfed in sun.
Dan, I'll actually ask you the question. The track, the dynamic weather that we see here in iRacing, how big of a difference is it, especially in we know a qualifying lap will change based off of a cloud cover, but in the race, if you got cloud cover in 1 and 2, but 3 and 4 you have sunlight, how much does it make you be aggressive in one corner versus the other?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you got cloud cover on one corner. It's definitely going to be cooler. Going to be a little bit more grip compared to the other side of the racetrack where there's a lot of sunlight. It's just, the sun just beamed down, just creating heat in the track, just making it lose grip. So pretty much opposite ends of the spectrum, essentially. As we're looking at Chris Pfeffer here, the handle of that truck's looking really good no matter which end of the racetrack it is. He's going for P2 on Matthew Zwack. It looks like Zwack and Blaze Crawford, they were trying to pull away from the pack. Their handling was really good. But now Chris Pfeffer, he's got something to say here out of the Legacy stable.
Yeah, Legacy's looking strong here, but we have reach the halfway point, lap 35. You see Pfeffer go for second on Matthew Swack. Now he's trying to look for the lead. He'll get to the back bumper here of Blaze Crawford. But if you want to keep up to date with all the latest eNASCAR news with the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series playoffs that have kicked off, Garrett Lowe getting it done, advancing to the Final Four. You can scan the QR code, or you can go to eNASCAR.com. You can follow him on Twitter at NASCARGG as well. And if you are a fan of iRacing or a fan of racing in general, and you just want to be a part of all the fun, iRacing.com is your portal to the sim racing world. 40% off new members. And if you pay attention to the World of Outlaws, if you use the promo code WOO, you will get 50% off to go sling some dirt with some of your friends. And, well, you could also tune in on Monday nights to the World of Outlaw Late Model Butt Kicker Series. And a lot of big things coming up, Jason Rockefeller. You got the eNASCAR College Series coming up, eNASCAR Contender. We got the championship race for the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series as well. They're going to be live from the NASCAR Hall of Fame again. There is a ton of amazing things in the world of iRacing, and best place to be a part of it is, well, be racing yourself.
Sure, I made my transition back in 2020, or I should say 2021, back in January, and haven't looked back since. Absolutely love it. I've met some great people on here. Obviously, the realest thing you can get to driving one of these real, Craftsman Truck Series trucks, you could say, or cars, whatever you want to call it. I've had a blast absolutely racing them. The vast majority is of tracks. You can go run, dirt cars at Lima Land one day, and then you can go run trucks at Michigan the next. But, that's the beauty of iRacing. Every day is race day, as Dale Jr. says. We have a battle going on for the lead here between Blaze Crawford and Christopher Pfeffer, who has finally tried to get to the race lead. He'll look down to the inside, Dan, heading into turn one.
But this is his chance. He's going to do it now. He's going to drive it hard into turns 1 and 2. Maybe push Blaze Crawford a little wide. And we're going to have a new race leader, Chris Pfeffer, put him to the point at Michigan.
Very weird to see Christopher Pfeffer go from the outside lane, and then he made the pass on the inside. Dan, you called it. That Legacy Esports number 66 has been absolutely on rails since we came off the pit road there. Drove through this field to take the race lead. High side, middle lane, bottom, does not matter. He has been fast throughout it. You see right here, the lowest he has been was 8th. And then he drove it all the way up to the race lead. Rode second for a little bit, but we're coming to the lap 40 mark. We'll have 30 laps to go. And Pfeffer's starting to take a little bit of control of this race. He still has Blaze Crawford behind him. Delaney's shown some speed. Swack, Caden Rush has come into the fold as well. A lot of drivers starting to position themselves for the very end of this race. And I'm no mathematician, Jason, but I would imagine that lap 12 pit stop was not going to suffice some of these drivers. We potentially might need to pit again.
For sure, we're going to have to pit again, just to probably about maybe at the round lap 52, 55 mark, somewhere around then. But, that all obviously depends. Will we see a yellow? Will we see guys get aggressive? We saw Chris Pfeffer take the lead away from Blaze Crawford. And obviously Chris trying to go for 2 in a row. One just a couple weeks ago back at IRP over Taylor Hurst in split number 2. Blaze looking to do some great things. And Dan, obviously leads the question to you. Would you try to take an undercut, or would you just kind of stick to your normal strategy here once we do, in fact, possibly find pit stops?
Well, that's going to depend, because definitely with how important the draft is here, I feel like you're going to need some friends if we're going to try to pull that strategy. Like, say, if there's guys like Blaze Crawford and Matthew Swack, if they want to try to pit early, they can pit together. Because if you pit by yourself, then you're pretty much just a rock in the water, because you're going to have no one to draft with. You may be fast on new tires, but not having that straightaway speed with the benefit of the draft, you're just going to go nowhere. So these guys, they might try to wait it out as long as possible to the last possible moment. But I'm very interested to see what the strategies are going to look like once, if we get to green flag cycles without a caution. But still got a little bit of ways to go as we're coming to 29 laps to go. And Chris Pfeffer, as you see, he is starting to try to pull away. He's trying to pull away on his own here.
Shades of DEI potentially in the early 2000s to about 2006. Those drivers were always able to pull away on the super speedway, and Legacy Esports always puts good pieces underneath their drivers and puts them in the I would say, one of the best positions to make it through the eNASCAR ladder, and basically everything that those drivers and builders do over there. Boyd Hogan being a really excellent builder and team driver for them as well. You see him through the corner, Jason. It's really amazing to see him pull away off the center off. He's gone. I haven't seen this since Junior in the 500 in 2004 when he got the win.
And absolutely, for sure, shades of 2004 Daytona 500 between Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And man, that 66 of Chris Pfeffer is really hooked up. We saw him working that bottom for quite a little while, and then finally was able to get to the inside of Blaze Crawford. But you still see Blaze, he won't go down there completely. He's still running that middle lane right above
The leader's coming this time by.
Yep, here we go. Pit stops are starting.
You called it there. Leaders on pit lane. He went with his friends, and that reminds me of the old song, Friends. How many of us have them? And he had a lot of friends come with him. Blaze Crawford will stay on the racetrack. Swack, Rush, DeMerchant, P. Frisch. That'll be your top 5 here. We'll see if they come down next time by. We'll have 26 laps to go. So the undercut versus the overcut, Dan. We'll see which one plays out. If you're a fan of Gio Hagan and Neer, they are both out of the race. Dalton Collins 5 laps down. So those 3 drivers out of contention. Hurst and Kaplan all a lap down. You see it here. The rest of the leaders are pitting, but Seth DeMerchant, he's going to stay on the racetrack here, and he's going to stay out with, I believe that's Taylor Hurst, who just went a lap down.
Yep, Seth DeMerchant, he's going to have the benefit of some draft, have some slipstream, so he won't be a total lost cause. If he can just hang with Taylor Hurst for like another lap, he can come down and pin and then merge right back with the pack. So maybe trying to be on those fresh tires. But yeah, as we see all the leaders coming in, Blaze Crawford, Matthew Swack, and others, they're not going to let Pfeffer and all of them, they're not going to let them undercut him more than 1 lap. Hopefully maybe that 1 lap, they will stay out later. I don't know if that's going to help them out with tire wear and maybe maneuver through the pack. We'll just have to see as the leaders are all getting ready to come up pit road, as we're going to see Seth DeMerchant. He is coming to the pit lane this time.
Seth DeMerchant comes down pit lane.
He's
going to take the rest of the drivers with him here. And Logan Helton almost lost it there. There's James Wenzel. There's Brandon Pipcrass. There's Michael Venable. He's on pit lane as well. And that's going to hand the race lead to this guy. It's Jake Nichols, who will assume it. You talked about not having draft. I don't know. It looks like a hole in the wall in Texas around him, because there is nothing in between him and the race leader, who technically, we missed it, 9 seconds up the road. That's Ray Alfala. It's your race leader. We'll see if Ray comes down here for the VRS, guys. And here he comes. And both drivers, Cole Hooper as well, who's back there sitting in 3rd. No draft help whatsoever for those 3, as Jake's going to stay on the racetrack here for another one.
And Jake's just kind of, I think, hoping maybe for a caution, trying to just, stay out there for as long as he can. I mean, he's the only guy out there besides Cole Hooper who hasn't pit yet from what I'm seeing currently. And when this all does cycle back around, Chris Pfeffer will maintain that race lead he did have at the time when he pitted. Jonathan Delaney as well, Daniel Smallwood, and then Blaze Crawford right there in 7th. So Jake Nichols here again, do you think he's going to stay out as long as he can possibly? Since, I mean, he is, pretty much the last car out there, or do you think he's just going to pit here the next lap?
I'm going to say, if he hasn't pitted now, he's going until that thing runs dry. Probably just trying to catch a yellow, try to have as fresh side as possible for a possible restart. But as I'm looking at this field right now, as they're going down the back straightaway into turn 3, everyone's so spread out, everyone's single file. And Vary's actually got a lot of split up packs right now. Like, we got a group of 3, then a group of 5, then another group of 5, then another group of 5. So this pack's very spread out. So I don't foresee any yellows coming out anytime soon. But and then there's probably with the commentator's skirts right there. But right now everything's looking so far so good, as Chris Pfeffer, Jonathan Delaney, and Daniel Smallwood, they had a really good pit cycle. They were able to pull a pretty good gap on Blaze Crawford and others.
We take a look right here at who would be your net race leader once the green flag pit stops do ensue here. That's the number 66 or the number 6 based off the I rating for Christopher Pfeffer. He'll have Jonathan Delaney right behind him with Daniel Smallwood. They all pitted together, so no surprise to see those 3 drivers running right here, 1, 2, 3, or 3, 4, 5 if you want to get real technical with me. We're just waiting on Jake Nichols. And Cole Hooper just came down, so that puts them 2nd, 3rd, 4th on our running order. This is fun to watch because the strategy has opened. They have not a substantial lead back there to Blaze Crawford, Jason, but they have a decent enough lead. Give it about a second to about a 8/10 of a second over them. They're starting to close in just a little bit, but that run's going to be ginormous. How hard are they about to block when they get up there? Because we're about to come into 21 laps to go.
It's all going to come down to what Daniel Smallwood's going to do. He's going to be the first to fall victim to these guys in the draft behind him, and you see him right now. He's kind of about a car length off of Jonathan Delaney as they head into 1. These guys are continuing to catch them right now. And you see that's the 3 of Blaze Crawford, only back by 8/10 of a second. Like you said, these straightaways are absolutely key for that number 3 machine, shown as the number 4 as well. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. These straightaways are going to be key for him. They have to hit the marks. I do expect them here to more than likely catch him. It's just, you know, getting to a guy is one thing, passing him is another.
And thankfully, with Blaze Crawford, he's finally about to start to get a sniff of Daniel Smallwood's draft, and he's also got a little bit of a bigger pack that's pushing him from behind because he's got Noah Bitts, Caden Rush, and others that are pushing him. And right there, as you see, look at that. You can just visually tell how much he's closing in. And he's got a lot fresher tires than those 3 in front of him as well, so that's going to be a little bit of a benefit when handling hopefully comes into play.
Well, I tell you what, with the strategy play underway and a lot of the drivers single filed out, I tell you what we can do. We have a new feature here. Let's crank it up for the eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying Series. Oh, caution, trouble on the front straightaway, and this is not what the leaders wanted to see. Christopher Pfeffer has the race lead, and if you're Jake Nichols, you were absolutely gutted because you just pitted and the caution flag waves. That's number 3 on the field, and that is going to make this race just a little bit crazier, as we'll probably take the green flag, Jason, with 16 laps to go.
It was absolutely crazy. I mean, talk about commentator's curse here, you know, because Dan is the one who said commentator's curse, and we're going to take a look at the replay here right now down the front straightaway. That is the number 5 machine of Kenny Humpy from what I'm seeing. So here we go down this back straightaway, heading down into turn 3. Funny enough, we go right to crank it up, and then next thing you know, there's a wreck. How only fitting that we do that here for eNASCAR Night in America. But you see the 5 get really loose out of turn 4. Seth Demergent right behind him, tried to look to the outside. Unfortunately, just misjudges hard in the wall, back into the truck, lifts up off the ground, stays on it though. And unfortunately, Kenny Humpy's night looks like it's going to come to an end here, Dan.
Yeah, that was just an unfortunate situation, guys. Just 3 wide. Seth Demergent going up the middle. Just not a lot of wiggle room right there. Maybe a little miscommunication right there. And then Kenny Humpy, definitely a pretty fast truck out there. Was just trying to catch up to the pack. And I could hear Blaze Crawford over the radio, very gutted that yellow came out, because you can see how fast he was. He had the advantage on tire. It looked like he was destined to have a good shot to win this race. And now the track seems to be cooling down quite a bit as well. We're going to be probably pack racing for these final 18 or so laps, as it looks like mostly all the leaders going to come to pit road and get another set of tires.
All but one, I do believe, is going to come down the pit lane. I would almost bet that Jake Nichols will stay on the racetrack.
You are correct.
He had just came off of pit road, Jason Rockefeller. He had no reason. If he would have pitted there, he would have been right on the money. But new race leader here, the number 7, got the caution he wanted, but not when he wanted it. But
it looks like it's still going to possibly work out for him. I believe he is on the lead lap. You talk about him just obviously coming off the pit road, but here's the battle off, and it looks like that number 16 of Daniel Smallwood, or I believe that was Jonathan Delaney, possibly right off the pit road. They win the battle there past the exit line. And now this is going to be interesting here, Dan. Obviously, a late race restart. What is your mindset going into this as we're looking to restart with another 15 laps to go?
We've come to the inevitable part of the race where a lot of people just wanted it to go green. They were in great spots. But now it's going to be all about survival because we know how these late rate restarts work. I know I've been a part of them on Tuesday nights. These guys have been through it all season long. So it's about, if we haven't seen enough chaos already, we're going to crank it all the way up to 11.
We will retry to crank it up. When we take the green flag back, we'll reset your top 5 here. Jake Nichols, Matthew Baer stayed out here on this pit stop. Pfeffer, Delaney, Smallwood with, I believe, who is that coming down the pit lane here? Is that?
That's Matthew Baer.
That's Matthew Baer. So he's coming down on this wave. He was sitting second, so now Matthew Baer is going to come down, take his service, and he'll go to the tail end of the longest line. That would be 28th with Cole Hooper back there right in front of him. You take a look at here, the pace lights are off, and, well, boys, we thought it was crazy. It's about to get crazier.
Going to get crazier here. Obviously, you're going to start to see guys go 3, maybe even 4, heck 5 wide if they really wanted to here. I think a driver I'm really looking at here on this restart, possibly when we're going to restart with just 15 laps to go, I think is probably going to be Caden Rush. We've seen him be very aggressive here on these restarts, and he's been able to make up some time. We've seen him go to the top. We've seen him go to the bottom where nobody else would. I expect that number 18, or you can say that number 6, Ron Hornaday, Mike Skinner throwback, whatever you want to call it, that good wrench machine could be coming to the front here, Dan.
Yeah, and I was talking about Caden Rush earlier before we got interrupted by a big old crash on the back straightaway. I'm going to finish that statement now. I was talking to Caden Rush last night about how his chances were going to be tonight. He wasn't very, I won't say he wasn't very confident in his pace, but overall tonight he showed he's had really good pace. Now he's got a shot at a win here, hopefully. And Terry, it's time to crank it up on this restart. What do you say?
Oh, I can't wait. Well, as the leaders get ready to take the green flag, 15 laps to go, let's crank it up on the restart. You see him here. We completed the first green flag lap of the restart, fanning out. Jason, you called it. You said 3, 4, 5 wide at some point in time, and we're 3 by 3 by 3 from 10th on back. And now we have a battle for the 9th place position. Michael P. Frisch, he's under attack right at the moment by Luke Canup and Braden Hanna.
3, 4 wide here down the front straightaway. You see Taylor Hurst all the way on that outside, and up in front of him that looks to be James Wenzel, I believe. Possibly they're gonna start to kind of get all organized. No, they won't. Change of plans. Still 3 and 4 wide here, Dan, as they work their way off 2 down the back.
Yeah, I see Taylor Hurst back there in all the mess. We're not familiar with seeing him back there, but we saw him stay out on that previous yellow, and unfortunately that race went green for a long period of time, so he got buried back in traffic. See if he can try to get back up through there. As he's going to go to the very top. Where are we? 5 wide through turns 3 and 4.
Yeah, 5 wide. Here we go. Now the race has officially started. Contact made on the outside lane all the way to the middle. everybody jockeying for position. You got Ray Alfala in the mix of this as well. You got Wenzel, he's right there. He's fighting for a top 20 spot in the points. He's currently sitting 1 point out. Kenny Brady is going to drop out after this race, so there's one spot that has advanced automatically into the top 20 this afternoon. You see Brandon Pipcrass back here as well. He's sitting 20th. I think a lot of these people, Jason, are waiting until the very end, and we potentially will see the carnage ensue up front for the race win.
If your guys back here like Tommy Goss and Taylor Hurst, Ray Alfala, who's been stuck mired back in traffic all night long, can you believe the Tube Machine got involved in that early incident here in the race? Now all the way back there trying to make his way up, but meanwhile, battle up at the front. Pfeffer under fire from Daniel Smallwood and also Blaze Crawford back up to the top side with, look at that, Dan, here comes Caden Rush in that Goodwrench Chevrolet.
Here he is coming to the front, and I also want to highlight Michael Fritsch as well. He was in that first lap wreck as well, and he's up to 7th, and he's going for P6 right now. And CV is going to finish out of this. He wasn't too damaged, but looking at Chris Pfeffer trying to block all the lanes, trying to attack, Spare trouble down the front straightaway. They're going to hang. No, they're not. Jake Nichols goes around. Others involved. Caution's going to be out. I think Mitchell Hunt got a piece of that as well. And Yellow is out with 10 laps to go. It went all very wrong in the middle of the pack. And yeah, there was someone else got involved too. We'll have to get another replay of that. But there's the carnage we've been talking about, and all the chaos is really starting to begin to ensue now, Terry.
Yeah, that caution right there. There's the 7 of Jake Nichols. He's going to get a tap right here. From the outside, the 88 goes around, and they thought they all had it missed. And they didn't. A lot of drivers just making small contact here. Not a whole lot to affect the handling of these trucks with the damage model you talked about, Dan, but it's a tough break for a driver in Jake Nichols who caught the break that he needed. He got the caution flag, and he was able to catapult himself to the race lead after he went off cycle with a lot of other drivers. Now we should restart this race with 6-7 laps to go. Nobody on pit lane at the moment as pit lane opens this time by. We'll see if any drivers try to make any type of jump depending on what they're able to do tire-wise or what they have left. A lot of drivers who have come down pit road multiple times, Jason, are going to make a run at this, but now we can say that chaos is going to ensue, or are we past that point?
It's a possibility right here. You know, obviously you're going to be restarting with under 8 laps to go. It can go haywire. It can go one of both ways. You can either have a super clean, great finish, or you could have absolute chaos ensuing here at the finish of this race. Also, speaking of finishing of a race, Daniel Buttafuoco just picked up the win in Split 1 over on the FTF coverage for Split 1. So congratulations to him. But, I mean, we still have one more race to finish here tonight. And Chris Pfeffer's been liking what he's seeing, trying to go 2 races in a row with the win here. Dan, if you're a driver like Chris Pfeffer, how do you execute this restart and trying to keep everybody behind you?
Yeah, it's just you're going to have to really get those elbows out if you want to try to control the lead. You saw him trying to control the different lanes. Like you saw, he tried to go down and give Daniel Smallwood some draft. Daniel Smallwood, new member of the Legacy Camp. So him trying to help a teammate out right there just wasn't quite enough because Smallwood didn't have a lot of help. And also something I wanted to point out too, all these guys stayed out. They really couldn't pit anyway because I believe everyone had 3 sets of tires to start this race. And they've pitted 3 times, one under one of the early yellows, then under green, and then they pit on this last time by. So these guys are on the tires except for Taylor Hurst, who I see is on the pit lane right now, getting his last set of tires, maybe fixing up a little bit of damage as well. So I would keep an eye out for Taylor Hurst near the end of this race. See, I mean, it's not a really big advantage. I mean, he's going to have a couple laps advantage. We'll see if he can do some with it because we know how fast he's been all season long. So we'll see if he's got anything here at the end of this thing.
We'll see what these drivers are able to work at the last portion of this one. We'll have 6 laps to go when we do take the green flag this time. I do want to remind you of some points here because this is really what we need to focus on towards the latter part of this season. This is race number 4 of 3. You take a look. I mean, I keep scrolling up here. Agnell 15-point lead. That's obviously going to change after the result that he had in top split here this afternoon. Helton is obviously is done with his race as well. Brian Mercurio, Anthony Burrows. We're waiting on to see where Ray Alfala is going to sit. Kwame Scott had a top 10 run here this afternoon. Caden Rush here with us currently sitting third. He is a 5-point advantage over the cut line. He's tied at the moment with Kwame Scott. Christopher Hill, Daniel Smallwood, Michael P. Frisch having a decent run here after getting caught up in an early incident. Kyler Wynn didn't necessarily have the run that he wanted. Agnell Phillip, he was 27th. He started on the pole in top split, guys, and he finished 27th. So we're going to see a massive flip in these points this afternoon. And you think of guys like Wenzel, DeMerchant, Holzer, Delaney, Hooper, Matthew Swack might potentially jump in here as Hooper's 24th. If he's just able to make it through the carnage, he could jump up as he's 2 points outside the cut line. We said this before, and we'll say it again. This is the most closely contested eNASCAR qualifying series we have seen in some time. And so for a lot of these drivers with 6 laps to go, they're going to either potentially punch their ticket into our championship 20 to go to contender, or they're going to ruin their hopes here this afternoon. Pace cars down and in. The field's in the control of the 66 of Christopher Pfeffer. He's on the loud pedal. Green flags in the air. We're racing into, hopefully, for the final time for the restart here at Michigan, Jason.
Pfeffer gets one heck of a restart. Everybody filing out 2, 3 wide, all the way down into turn 1. Pfeffer will jump down to the bottom to try to clear Blaze Crawford, who runs the top side. He's got help behind him from, I believe that's Daniel Smallwood up on the top side. And then you have Caden Rush. Look at the 4 machine, Dan. Go to the outside. Pfeffer has 3 wide from this lead into 3.
Pfeffer, he tried to block him all. He didn't block him good enough. It's Caden Rush. He's going to go up the middle. Blaze Crawford on the outside. They're going to be 3 wide coming off turn number 4. It's going to be 5 laps to go when they get to the start-finish line this time by. And look at Chris Pfeffer. He's got no help. And Caden Rush, he's going to the point at Michigan.
The Martin Sports gloves are off here in this afternoon. This race is going to come down to potentially Caden Rush, Delaney. You got Crawford, Smallwood, Swack, all inside the top 5 at the moment. They're under a blanket. You see Christopher Pfeffer getting tucked out of line. He got pushed down to the very, very bottom, but your top 2 starting to separate just a little bit. And now here comes the 6. That's Jonathan Delaney. He's going to look to the inside for P2. And, well, boys, 4 laps to go. Bets over under. How many more cautions do we see as the race leader, Caden Rush, he blocks to the bottom?
A possibility of just one more yellow here, but Caden Rush trying to do everything in his power, and that good wrench Silverado blocks the top, blocks the bottom. He'll block Jonathan Delaney down to the bottom, gets a little bit tight, sends Blaze Crawford up the track a little bit. Blaze has the run though. They're door handle to door handle there, side by side, even halfway down the backstretch.
Crawford got to the right rear. He's got the push, and he's going to try to go to the race lead as well. 2 by 2 by 2 by 2 in the top 10 as they're coming off turn number 4. Blaze Crawford trying to make it a 2 for 2 for Motorsports Racing tonight at Michigan. Daniel Buttafuoco winning split 1. And now, we got contact in the back. I think that's Cole Hooper put in the wall. Big wreck in the back. Couldn't quite caught who that was. Caution is back on the speedway. I'm not sure who was in the lead at the time of yellow. We'll have to get a replay of that. But that was Brandon Pipgrass turned into the outside wall. And Terry, we are going to eNASCAR overtime.
Oh boy, I said over under. How many cautions would we see as we take a look right here with Brandon Pipgrass, who was 25th at the time of the yellow flag. And we'll see what brought this one out. He just got a bad bump and around he goes, and nowhere to go for James Wenzel as he goes right into the back bumper of that number 23 machine, and around a couple other drivers go as well. I believe that was Charles Grant Jr., Dominic Lukowski. He was in this one as well. Kenny Humpy also caught a piece of that one. It was a good bit of drivers back there in the back part of this one, but your race leader at the time of the yellow flag was Blaze Crawford in the 3. And eNASCAR Overtime is where we will send it. We will have 2 attempts here at a green-white checkered finish. For anybody who's new to the eNASCAR side of things, we'll throw the green flag, the white flag next time by, then the checkered flag. If we have to re-rack it again before the leader takes the white flag, unlike the NASCAR side of things, if the trucks wreck on the back straightaway and the white flag's out, who cares? We race them to the line. No safety concerns in iRacing? Well, because it's virtual. That's what makes this fun. We will get a green flag finish here this afternoon, barring us burning through the midnight oil and all of our green-white checkered attempts. But I'm going to make a pick, which we don't get to do that often, but I think this caution benefited one driver, Jason, and that one driver is the man sitting in 9th place. That's the 4-time champion of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. That's Ray Alfalla. He has got out of the trouble. He has got out of the weeds inside the top 10 for the first time tonight. I think that the 2 machine takes it to victory lane.
Terry, great minds think alike, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I was not going to say he might be the winner, but at the end of this, if these guys all wreck, remember, this is racing, man. This is like a Game 7 moment right here for Ray Alfalla possibly here. These guys could all wreck coming to the checkered flag, and somehow, some way, he can come out of this unscathed. Ray Alfalla could be looking to go to victory lane, and I think the biggest heartbreak out of all this, Dan, look at Chris Pfeffer sitting there in 11th, the dominator of the night, along with Blaze Crawford tonight. He sits currently in 11th, just outside the top 10. He's going to be right in the middle of the Hornets' nest here when we go green.
Yeah, you literally read my mind because I was going to bring that up. Pfeffer went from leading on the restart, and now he's not even in the top 10 anymore. So, like, that just shows how strong the draft is. Like, no one was out to help him. He tried blocking every which way. But Blaze Crawford went to the outside, then he tried to block Caden Rush. Caden Rush had a nice move up the middle, and thankfully all the help went with him. So, definitely a shame if you're Chris Pfeffer. But now, he's got another shot to try and make up some positions because he's going to be right in the middle of the pack, just trying not to get wrecked. And a lot of these guys, I wouldn't be surprised that they're thinking about points as well. Try not to make any stupid moves that's going to take you out of contention, because I may have done something like that at this race last year. So hopefully none of these guys try to do what I did last year, just throw away some easy points. So, but yeah, I'm very interested to see who's going to pull this off. Blaze Crawford, he's been fast all night. Caden Rush, he's been a surprise up here at the front. And like I said, Michael P. Fresh running P7, he was involved in that lap 1 wreck as well. Legit, if you're up here in the top 10, you got a shot. Anybody has a shot to win this thing. But can Blaze Crawford hold him off? He was able to do that early in the race. I think old Blaze Crawford gets it done.
All right, so we got 2 for Ray Alfalla, 1 for Blaze Crawford. The producer picked Jonathan Delaney, sitting 4th right now, second car on the outside lane. So I figured I would mention the producer's pick here this afternoon. People out there in the chat, let us know who you think is going to win. It'd be very interesting to see which one of us gets this right. Field's in the hands of the pace car down the back straightaway. We're going to kick this into eNASCAR Overtime here this afternoon. For all of you just joining us from Road to Pro Split 1, I'm Terry Radford, Jason Rockefeller, Daniel Falkingham, your commentators up here in the booth. We appreciate you for being a part of this split as well. A lot of these drivers are familiar names you will see in 2 weeks' time for the Road to Pro series as well. This is going to get fun. Strap in, have a good time, drink your ice-cold Coca-Cola Zero Sugar, and let's have a wonderful green-white checkered attempt as the pace car is down and in for potentially the final time this afternoon. Field's in the hands of Blaze Crawford into 3. Green flags back in the air and a massive checkup on the bottom. And the top 2, Daniel Smallwood, Blaze Crawford, get one hell of a jump, Jason.
And man, they are flying, absolutely flying down into turn number 1. Crawford holds the advantage over Daniel Smallwood. You see Jonathan Delaney, first one to duck out of line out of that top 5. They're going to head off turn number 2. Caden Rush tries to jump to the outside to cover. Who's going to be the first one out of line? It's going to be Caden Rush trying to go for the race lead. Now side by side with Daniel Smallwood. Oh, we got a wreck in the back.
That is Mitchell Hunt spinning at the back of the field out of the corner of my eye. And we are under yellow. Caden Rush had a heck of a run down the back straightaway. And Noah Bitts, I don't know what happened there with Noah Bitts. I don't know if he tried to time the restart and just failed miserably or what. But we're going to take a look at the replay here of Mitchell Hunt. Just running right near the back of the field. And I think he just got turned. That wasn't a good camera angle, but there he goes, gets turned at the back of the field, middle of the back straightaway. Hopefully we can get another camera angle of that, try to get a better view. But yeah, just Mitchell Hunt, it's been a rough couple of weeks for that Nexus Esports machine. He got collected in a lot of stuff at IRP, and now is taken out in probably like the second or third wreck he's been a part of tonight. Just Mitchell Hunt is not having a good time so far here in round number 2.
Not having a good time at all, as we'll see him get turned here. Right here, to be exact. He's going to get turned. Driver just tried to get to the outside, and he did not have the lane. And around he goes down the back straightaway. This is attempt number 2. I believe there's only 2 attempts in.
We have 3.
3
attempps.
Let's say I could have been wrong. My math has never been the perfect one here. So 3 attempts. So this is 2 of 3. We will hopefully get a green flag finish to the end. It's still Blaze Crawford, but now Daniel Smallwood will be to the outside in second. Caden Rush is going to hope that he has the run that Daniel Smallwood had right there, Jason, because they took off really, really well down there on the bottom lane, except for, I believe that was Matthew Swack that could not get the launch that he necessarily wanted.
There's just a big stack up there, Terry, right on the bottom lane. And I don't really know what it was caused by. You saw Blaze kind of start to slow up a little bit, entering the Geico restart zone, came through it, and then just accelerated. But he did nothing wrong. He did absolutely nothing wrong. It's just the field, I don't think, was ready for it behind him to maybe go at the time he did. And unfortunately, that's what ultimately created that giant stack up there on the bottom. But there's a few guys obviously now who have earned more positions from where they started. Obviously, Daniel Smallwood, Caden Rush being right in the catbird seat. You see Seth the Merchant sitting there in 6th, having a little bit of damage on that left front after some contact earlier on. A lot of guys can still win this race here up at the front, Dan.
Yeah, like I said it before the last restart. If you're in the top 10, I think you got as good a shot as anybody. But right now, I think Caden Rush definitely been one of the strongest trucks. Like I said, I talked to him last night. He didn't feel that confident in his truck, but he's actually shown the speed tonight. But we've seen Blaze Crawford. He's been up front all night long, and he's kept it on the point. And now he's just got to finish the deal as Mitchell Hunt has retired from the race officially. But yeah, definitely interested to see what's going to go on. Also, want to keep my eye out for Daniel Smallwood, like I mentioned just a little while ago. I think he's now under the Legacy Esports banner, so see if he can go get a win for those guys. And I think his first outing for the Legacy team, so be really good if he can get a win there. But like I said, can the NFR go 2 for 2 here on this amazing Thursday night of Road to Pro action, where 2 laps of finding out. Hopefully we can finish this thing under green, Terry.
Would be really good to see this race end under the green flag conditions, and this would be caution number 4 that we've seen here this afternoon. And it has been a very good race. Your top 10's Blaze Crawford, Daniel Smallwood, Caden Rush, Jonathan Delaney, Matthew Swack. Your top 5. Sitting 6th right now, Seth the Merchant, Noah Bitts is 7th, Michael P. Frisch, Brandon Himmel, and Ray Alfala. Your top 10. A lot of good points nights here inside the top 10. Gossett, Pfeffer outside that top 10. Couple key names, Jake Nichols, who was involved in that incident not too long ago that brought out the second to last caution. He's worked his way back up to 16th. So that's a really good rebound. Taylor Hurst, who has the freshest tires in the field. He's currently sitting 19th. Matthew Baer, and then Pip Grass back there, and then Dominic Lomkowski. He is sitting 26th, the last car on the lead lap with Mitchell Hunt. Out of the race, James Wenzel, he's hoping for another caution potentially to see if he could jump up to 27th. Not too sure if that one is going to work out for him or not this afternoon. Hopefully for the final time, the pace car will pull down the pit lane. Blaze Crawford will have the field at his discretion when he wants to take this green flag. He gets the shot from the back. Here we go, green flags back in the air, overtime attempt number 2, Jason.
Hopefully the only attempt that we're going to need for any more. Blaze Crawford gets the jump out front. Caden Rush right on his back bumper. Daniel Smallwood able to jump up. Jonathan Delaney stuck up top with absolutely no help. Now the question is, you see Matthew Zwack jump out of line. Will Caden Rush make a move as they work their way down the back straightaway, heading into 3 for the second to last time, Dan?
Working in their turn 3 and 4, Blaze Crawford, Caden Rush. Daniel Smallwood have broken away. It's side by side for 4. The Matthews White, Jonathan Delaney, and Seth the Merchant. Here they come off turn 4. Blaze Crawford swinging over the white flag.
Can they make it to the white flag without a caution coming out? They can. White flags in the air. 1 lap to go for the eNASCAR qualifying Road to Pro iRacing Series. It's a 2-horse fight for the moment. It'd be Blaze Crawford, Caden Rush, Smallwood, Swack, all back there. Side by side they go, taking the momentum away. You got him down the back straightaway. Caden Rush giving the shot to the number 3 of Blaze Crawford. He looks to the inside. Here we go. Side by side to turns 3 and 4 for the race win of round number 4 in the second round of the eNASCAR Road to Pro Series. And off of turns 3 and 4, down the front straightaway. It's a drag race to the line. Blaze Crawford gets it done.
Oh! Blaze Crawford, race winner tonight at Michigan. What a night for Motorsports Racing. Caden Rush gave him all he had. It just wasn't quite enough, but Blaze Crawford going to victory lane. Jason.
What a finish, man. We didn't just have 2, we had 3 wide right there, man. I felt like I was watching an old IndyCar race here at Michigan or Chicagoland. Down the front straightaway, we've seen the awesome photo finishes here. Think back to 2008, that amazing truck finish between Eric Darnell and I believe also Johnny Benson, if I'm correct on that one. That was one heck of a finish. And boy, oh boy, Terry, we had one heck of a finish here tonight.
33 1/1000th of a second was the race win for Blaze Crawford over Caden Rush, getting it done this afternoon, and he's going to burn that truck down on the front stretch of the Irish Hills of Michigan. Burn it down, you earned this one, and that was one heck of a race for Blaze Crawford. And man, if we could get any better next September 31st at the Milwaukee Mile, I might have to come back and do next season's Road to Pro as well, because this was an incredible drive for the driver of the number 3. Wow, I mean, that was just the most perfect ending to this race.
Everyone burned out. Yeah, it was a great race. All the NFR teammates burning it down together. Caden Rush, he was celebrating his finish too. That's a screenshot if I've ever seen one right there. Or let's see, I think he's gonna get it lined up right here. Oh yeah, that's a screenshot if I ever seen one. Triple burner. How about that, Jason?
Looks like it looks like Team Penske did back in, I believe it was 2019 at the NASCAR Awards down on Broadway in downtown Nashville. Man, that was a cool sight to see him. What a job by Blaze Crawford tonight. Did everything he needed to do. Held on while under pressure from not only Caden Rush, but the rest of the field tonight. Heck of a drive for the driver out of Georgia, now relocated to Arizona. So what a nice win for the driver, that number 4.
Yeah, don't forget, for all of you people watching out there in the chat, August 31st, 2023, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here, same time, same place, the Milwaukee Mile will be the 5th round for us, and then we'll go to Bristol Dirt on September 14th. The 28th, we'll go to the Homestead Miami Speedway to round out the second round. But we take a look at our unofficial results here from Michigan. Blaze Crawford gets the win. Caden Rush, Daniel Smallwood, your top 3. Matthew Swack, Jonathan Delaney, Seth the Merchant, Michael P. Frisch, Noah Bitts, Ray Alfala, and Cole Hooper, your top 10, Jason.
20 before we get to the top 30. Tommy Gossett coming home P11. Brendan Meal, he'll finish 12th tonight. Chris Pfeffer, unfortunately, couldn't go 2 in a row this week. He'll finish 13th after a solid performance tonight. Hunter Johnson comes home 14th. Logan Helton 15th. Luke Knupp in the 29 machine will round out 16th. Taylor Hurst, after a very tough night for that 10 machine, 17th. Jake Nichols, strategy just didn't come into play for him late in the going. He'll finish 18th. Jesse Kaplan, he'll finish in the 19th position, and Kenny Humpy, Dan, will round out your top 20.
A lot of rough nights for these guys down back. Charles Grant Jr. 21st, Brendan Hanna 22nd, Matthew Baer 23rd, Brandon Pipgrass 24th, Michael Venable 25th, Dominic Lukumsky 26th, Mitchell Hunt 27th, James Wetzel 28th, Dalton Collins, Hunter Gohagen, and Blake Neer. All those guys dropped out early. They did not see the checkered flag when it was all said and done, Terry.
Looks like we have our race winner, and let's shake this up a little bit. My voice hurts. Blaze Crawford's going to stand by with Jason Rockefeller.
Please, you did it, man. I'm so proud of you. Absolutely. Known you for a little bit of time now, man. How does it feel to come home winner of race number 4, round 2 of Road to Pro at Michigan with not a 2, but a 3 wide finish coming to the line?
Dude, I literally cannot believe it. I did not expect that by any means coming in tonight. Dude, I'm still in shock because I've never won one of these. So this is like insane.
Man, it's your first win. Obviously, you got to celebrate. I can imagine you were probably screaming, yelling in the cockpit, everybody cheering you on for sure, man. And you were coming into tonight 12th in the standings from what my calculations were. And now with this win, you had such a dominant performance, man. How do you take this and go on to the Milwaukee Mile here in just a couple weeks?
Yeah, it's really nice to get some points for sure. I felt like I had a top 5 going at Pocono, and then things happened, but really needed this tonight. I think that'll boost us really far. It gives me a lot of confidence going to the next race for sure, because I felt like our car was just insane tonight. After I drove from 7th to the lead, like it was nothing on one of the restarts early on, and me and my teammate were 1-2. I was like, yeah, we've got something for him.
What do you think the most key thing here tonight? Obviously, we saw the wrecks, we saw the drafting, we saw the strategy. What was the hardest thing about tonight's race?
Just knowing who you could trust and who to work with. I worked good with Delaney, and then obviously my teammate Matthew Zwack. We were 1-2 for a good part of the run. So I knew I could rely on those guys to help me get up to the front. So that was probably the biggest challenge, just knowing who you could work with and just not putting yourself in a bad position going down 3 wide.
Congratulations, obviously, again, on your very first Road to Pro victory. We'll see you 2 weeks' time from the Milwaukee Mile, my man.
I appreciate it. Can't thank my team enough. NFR, we just joined about a month and a half ago for round 2. So thankful to be with these guys. We swept the splits tonight, so shout out to him, and Dan and Max are 1-2 in the other split. We're gonna just try to get some wins out from here and see what we can do.
Have it, folks. That's Blaze Crawford, driver of the number 4 machine here tonight. Your winner from Michigan.
We'll pull P2 up as well. We got Caden Rush, and Caden's going to stand by with Daniel Falkenham.
Caden Rush P2 tonight. I don't know how you feel about that race, because it seemed like you didn't have the confidence for tonight, but riding it out on a P2 on the podium, what a great race for you.
Oh man, all I gotta say is halfway through the race, only thing I was thinking is, what am I gonna say to you at the end of the race, whether it's P1, 2, or 3. I was just thinking, what am I gonna say to Dan? 2 races in a row on FTN, I've talked to you. This is great. I am just, oh my God, the feeling is great just to finish top 3 again.
Yeah, talk about your race. It seemed like you had a relatively quiet night. You showed some glimpse of hope, but then you were just kind of riding. You stayed in the top 10 all night long, so you guys definitely had the speed, and it seemed like you just really came live right at the end of the deal.
Yeah, just the beginning of the race, I was hoping we could set in, get a pace, get a run going. I just really wanted to ride there and kind of get going just however we could, no matter who was up there with us. I just wanted us to ride in single file line. I kind of just sat on the top for that whole little green flag run. We all ended up kind of going by the guys in the bottom, and I ended up like 5th. Chris Pfeffer was insane. That was one of the best trucks I've ever seen. That was a shame that he was not up there at the front to race with us. Just try to keep it quiet all night. Didn't really try to do anything crazy. Even at the end there, I obviously I wanted to win. Everyone in here wants to win, but I wanted to give me and Blaze the best shot because I knew the worst thing I could do is make a bad move and get us caught up in the wolf pack back there and just get us all wrecked. So I just wanted to give me and him the best chance to coming into the middle of 3.
Yeah, see how everything worked out. You made some really good moves there to put yourself in right position. Had a nice move up the middle to hang Chris Pfeffer out and send him down the order a little bit. So you made all the right moves at the end. So now in 2 weeks, something completely different for the first time on the Road to Pro schedule. We're going to a place called Milwaukee. How are your feelings about that in 2 weeks?
It'll be interesting. It'll be, I mean, obviously it's a flat track, so I think track position is going to matter a lot. Just being able to get your truck to handle over the long run. Just getting everything you can out of it over the run on tires, making sure you qualify well. That's always a huge thing in this series. And it'll be there too because it's just, I mean, it's so one lane on the bottom. It'll be a different challenge for sure, and it'll be interesting to see who's fast. But I definitely see what's after that in Bristol Dirt as more of a challenge than Milwaukee.
Yeah, definitely got some interesting tracks coming up to round out the round 2 schedule. Caden, great run tonight. Anybody want to shout out?
I just want to thank all my teammates at Nexus. I want to thank Mitchell, Kwame, Sander, Zach Hudson, Anthony, anyone who does work on the queue setups and the race setups every week. I literally could not be here without them. It is such a team-involved thing. No one is able to do this by themselves, and those people deserve more of the credit than I do. I just want to say thank you and I love you to my girlfriend. I just want to say I'm thankful for anyone that helps me and supports me. And I definitely did feel like I had a little guardian angel with me this race. My girlfriend's grandmother sadly passed away 2 weeks ago. And I definitely had Mama Cisco riding with me tonight. And she was my guardian angel and she helped me get this finish. So just thankful to my girlfriend, her whole family, my whole family, anyone who supports me. You mean the world to me, and that's all I got to say.
Our thoughts and prayers over to the family over there. Sorry about the loss, but Caden, great run tonight, and hopefully we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Keep it going, my man.
Thank you, Dan.
That is Caden Rush, P2 Terry, and I believe if you got enough of a voice left, I think you got Daniel Smallwood sitting with you.
Yeah, big thing for that one. Caden Rush is going to walk out of here 7th in the point standings. Blaze Crawford is going to leave here 12th. And the driver that we're talking to now, Daniel Smallwood, he's currently sitting 10th, 8 points above the cut line. And Daniel, you heard that here. They finally updated your 10th going into the Milwaukee Mile on August 31st. A new challenge for the Road to Pro drivers. What's your mindset? Obviously finished 3rd here. Good momentum going into Milwaukee, but it's an unknown. How much practice have you had so far?
We finished Michigan early, honestly, so we got a pretty good head start on Milwaukee. So I don't have many laps around there, so I'm using all that extra time to get practice. But it's definitely going to throw a curveball at us, and we got a good points day here, so it gives a little bit of a buffer, and we're just going to have to go be as good as possible.
Well, I always have to ask this at the short track side of things, especially when we went to IRP. Qualifying setup, which one are you really going to focus on more? Are you going to focus more on the qualifying side of things to get that track position? Or are you really going to try to see if you can focus on a long run in the race setup?
I mean, you want to qualify up front as much as possible and put as much time as you can to get there. But if you qualify good, if you don't have a good race setup, I feel like you're still going to fall back there eventually somehow, one way or another, because I feel like that's kind of how it was for us at IRP. We didn't have the best handling car. We had to make a few extra pit stops, and it put us back there at the at the end, and we somehow came back out with around the top 10. So it's just try to balance that as much as possible.
Well, leaving out of here, we have Milwaukee, Bristol Dirt, and Homestead. Out of those 3 races, when could we potentially see you break through and get the first win of the 2023 campaign?
Honestly, I think we have a chance at all 3. I hate to be like that, but I just joined Legacy Esports, and I'm around a great group of guys, and I think we're going to be able to bring cars that can win every week.
That's what, hey. It's not cocky if you back it up. You finished 3rd here in your debut for the Legacy Esports team, and congratulations on that finish. We'll see you potentially at Milwaukee, whether you're split 1 or split 2, and I hope we're talking to you.
For sure. Can I give a few shout-outs?
Send them.
I want to thank Legacy Esports for having me. It's a great pleasure being with them for the first time in Road to Pro. Great group of guys. Legacy Academy, GMS Fabrication, Curb Records, Cincinnati, everybody that puts a hand in to get us to the track and rolling up there at the top. We had a fast truck tonight and felt like we could have won, but we'll take a third and look at the big picture.
Well, congratulations on P3. That's Daniel Smallwood sitting 10th in the points, 8 above the cut line. We'll see him a little bit later on, but, well, this ends it for us. We'll go through final thoughts here. You see us back on the screen. My baby face and Jason's baby face, and Dan decided to shave too. We just figured we would all look somewhat presentable-ish for this show. But Jason, I'll go to you. We saw a lot of chaos, a lot of carnage, a massive shakeup in points. A lot of drivers went up and down this board. Some came into the top 10, top 20 that were outside by a lot. What was your biggest takeaway here from Michigan?
I mean, obviously, we all expected this to come in. It was going to be kind of a crapshoot, you know. I mean, you were going to have your guys who were usually fast, but, you know, I mean, we've seen in the recent weeks, we've seen Daniel Buttafuoco continuously be fast. He won split one, and then the one driver who I was having big hopes for tonight, and I'm sure he can rebound from this, was Taylor Hurst, man. He struggled and struggled all freaking night long. I mean, it was just unbelievable, you know, with the amount of speed that that driver had, you know, within the last few weeks, and all of a sudden just one wrong move. And next thing you know, I mean, he's still in second in the points, but hey, you know, still he wants to be as consistent as possible. And Max finishing second in split one, he moves from all the way down in 20th, all the way up now to 14th. So those are probably my two biggest takeaways from tonight's action.
Well, and Dan, I'll shift it to you because we're changing styles of racetracks. You know, obviously with the 2-miler in Michigan down to a short track in Milwaukee, if you didn't get a good run here, you have to get a good run with 3 races to go at Milwaukee. Talk about the pressure, because we got 3 races to go, and there's a lot of drivers who's still in contention to get inside the top 20 to make it to contender, but not a whole lot of time to get there.
Yeah, looking at the points are so close. I'm looking at 4 guys, 17th through 20th, are a point above the cut line, but that's including the drop week. So, but yeah, these next 3 races, we got Milwaukee, Bristol Dirt, and Homestead. That you couldn't get any more different of race in terms of racetrack. So that's going to be very exciting to watch over the next 3 races. I'm glad to be here to call the action with all of you guys. But yeah, going to Milwaukee, I had experience there in the eNASCAR Coke Series right back at the start of the year. And restarts are going to be wild. Definitely going to be a lot of close bumper-to-bumper racing. Clean air is going to be important. Track position is going to be important like it is almost everywhere we go. I'm ready for 2 weeks, guys, but right now it's time to say goodbye.
Yeah, it's not goodbye. It's we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you later. That's right.
For all of us here at FTN, for Daniel Falkenham, Jason Rockefeller, my name is Terry Radford. Cody was behind the scenes as well, given all of the great footage that we've seen here this afternoon. We'll see you in 2 weeks on August 31st from the Milwaukee Mile. Good night, everybody.